You're with Julian on the Brown Note. Not a very long piece, but why Australia does have a class problem and why that class problem is best exemplified by the Liberal National Party. Last night, Four Corners had probably the most watched show in the nation due to the fact that the Liberal Party had been hammering the ABC, and it all came to light that they were trying to stop this show going to air. It was all about the behaviour of Liberal politicians in Canberra in relation to inappropriate behaviour with women. And it was jaw-dropping, and in particular, it focused on Alan Tudge, where one of his staffers came forward and revealed to the nation that she'd been having an affair with him. All the way through, up until a few years ago when she stopped the affair and was sidelined, she felt like she had to leave politics. And she also said an awful lot about systemic bad behaviour towards women. And the other one was Christian Porter, the Attorney General, and his wife separated from him at the start of the year. His wasn't so much an allegation of an affair as continual affairs and boozing and carousing in public, and a lifetime of extremely misogynist behaviour and attitudes towards women, all of which he has hidden behind a mask, as all of them have, as Alan Tudge did, behind a holier-than-thou mask of right-wing Christian traditional everything. Not how they were behaving behind the scenes. Now, the Murdoch press have leapt to their defence, of course, saying that none of this is all salacious. So it's between two consenting adults. It's not in the public interest. Absolute crap. It's in the public interest because for a number of reasons. For one, if you've got people that are high up in the Australian government having affairs behind their wives' backs, it goes to the notion of their character, and it also puts them in a position where they could then be blackmailed. And where they might have to do things in order to stop things becoming public. And that is a problem. Secondly, it is never okay to be, say, two consenting adults when one of them is your boss, and where you having an affair or not having an affair with them may impact your career and may impact your decision to go ahead with that affair. And when, if you decide to leave that affair, you may well be considered, and this is a quote from the woman herself, damaged goods. There is an awful lot of psychological pressure on you to remain in that situation if you don't want to. One of the people involved with Christian Porter was crying to, I think, Sarah Hanson-Young, who said that she was trapped. And you're in a position then where even if people don't like what's going on, and are good, decent people, may not want to hire you, because it will be seen as, you doing favours for someone that might end up causing a great deal of bringing the game into disrepute. So if you want to get another Liberal Party job to get away from that person, you may find your avenues gone. There are a number of reasons why this is in the public interest. And the main one for me, apart from everything else, is these are people that actively fought against millions of Australians having the same rights as them, well, 1 million Australians, in the gay marriage debate. Christian Porter, Alan Tudge, both, and Barnaby Joyce, both lobbied and campaigned to stop hundreds of thousands of Australians having the right to marry because they believed in the traditional Christian version of marriage whilst they were banging their staff. That is a hypocrisy that's in the public interest. Stop talking rubbish, Murdoch Press. This is in the public interest. But the power imbalance, one thing that came through the documentary was that this behaviour that the Liberal Party seems systemically engaging in has not been acceptable in the corporate sector for decades. You could never get away with doing what you're doing in the private sector, and that has resulted in CEOs of companies losing their jobs when they've had inappropriate relationships. It seems even now that the party that is known for having a problem with women is engaging in behaviour which is very detrimental to women, and they will still come out and say that it is the women's fault. But if you're the boss and she's your staff member, that's a power imbalance that can never be overcome. and you shouldn't be cheating on your wife. Why am I saying this? So in the case of Tudge and Porter and Barnaby Joyce, it seems like we're scratching the surface of a culture, a systemic culture, and that is where Australia has a class problem. We say that Australia doesn't have a class problem like the UK. It may not have it to the same extent, but if you followed the biography of Christian Porter on that show last night, he was a little pampered rich boy told that he could be king one day. And he was an offensive, sexist, misogynist, age 16, and he still is today, and he has floated through life. Now, none of these Liberal Party people, I've gone on at length how Labour get the sack over $1,000 here, a meeting with the wrong person there, they resign or they're sacked straight away. Nothing happens. Barnaby Joyce is still in his role. How they can have the Attorney General of Australia in his role after what was revealed last night is gobsmacking. How these two people can last in their roles, it would be the biggest shock yet, because he was painted as a serial abuser of women throughout his whole life. He did split from his wife in January, and you would assume, based on the fact that he was well known out and about for being publicly drunk and with young female staffers continually, how he can be then validated by Scott Morrison to stay in that role. I don't think he will. I think this is a bridge too far, and I think that he will go. I think his political career is over. It was too damning. And Tudge, I think, will go as well. He's already up to his neck in legal complications. And they still didn't sack him for that. Barnaby's still in his seat, despite pledging Christian allegiance and the holy sanctimony of marriage. When he was cheating on his wife and the mother of his 4 daughters, he was banging a staff member. So these people are incredible hypocrites, but they live in this gilded bubble where they feel entitled to rule us. And they do rule us, and they're the worst people we have, yet we keep elevating them to positions of power. And we wonder why our governments are so bad. These are awful people, and they're deeply enrooted in this entitlement. We see the young boys in a lot of these private schools chanting sexually abusive language in songs, racially abusing people in the street, and they come from these posh boys' schools, and you can draw a line all the way through Tony Abbott to the modern era. They're the same people. And we keep them in this gilded bubble. They are the ruling elite, the patrician class of Australia, and they're some of the worst people we have. And who knows how deeply this goes into the Liberal Party when it's a systemic problem, when they feel like women are second-class citizens, when they feel like they're entitled to their position no matter how they behave, and when they are never punished, and when they feel like they can get away with blue murder and them carousing and drunkenly hitting on staff members. Christina Keneally came out and said she was at a function, even though she was a well-known ex-politician, who was married, was being hit on by Liberal Party members she refused to name. Even though they knew full well she was married, because she was a piece of meat. And she said that she would never go to one of those functions again without her husband. This is the modern era. This is pretty much, most of this was after the whole Me Too explosion. And it's still going on in the Liberal Party. So it won't be surprising to me if Christian Porter and Tudge retain their positions, but I don't believe they will. I think their positions are untenable. And Scott Morrison has proved that he will throw his lot in with whoever. He's got no loyalty at all. He's very weak now that Trump has gone, and so is Boris Johnson. They're very, very weak on the world stage. They look particularly naked. I reckon that he will get rid of them. The other person that came off badly, and that was Malcolm Turnbull. Turnbull is currently fighting with Kevin Rudd, another ex-Prime Minister, to launch a royal commission into the Murdoch press. Good on you. And I think deep down he's a good man. But he was beholden to the Christian right when he became leader because they hated him. He knifed Tony Abbott, their hero, and they never let him get out from under that. And he was promoting people like Christian Porter to high office, knowing what they'd done. And I thought that really looked bad. So there you go. Just a short bit on that. But I think we do have a class problem, and it's the Liberal National Party, and it's the entitled brethren of these high-up folk that send their kids to these deeply misogynistic boys' schools where racism and misogynism seems to be part of the national curriculum, and then they end up governing us, and then they end up telling us about how traditional family values are the most important thing, so feminists and gays are all terrible people, while they're doing this behind the scenes. It's shocking behaviour, but is it shocking? Didn't we know? We just let them get away with it. Barnaby Joyce is still there, still telling everyone that he doesn't stink, that he gets to tell us how to live our lives.